of love await you with these golden wings. Take flight.
Like to join me in reading it, we open our hearts and doors to new individuals and families.
We know that the right and perfect people are joining us at the right and perfect time. Amen.
That's why 11:45 is a suggested start time. Because they join us at the right and perfect time. It's time to greet your neighbor. Lorna has agreed to do the daily word reading.
Oh, all righty. Illumination. As I look within, the light of understanding dawns in me. As I look to the east on a clear morning, I see the sky begin to grow lighter about an hour before sunrise. The changes in color are nearly imperceptible at first. Birds begin their morning songs as the sky grows brighter. Then, as golden rays of light proclaim the rising sun, I hear these words from the creation story of Genesis. Let there be light. And there is light. Illumination, the light of spiritual understanding, dawns within my own consciousness in much the same way. The darkness of ignorance begins to lighten. Insights emerge, dimly at first, then more vividly. Finally, understanding pours forth like radiant morning sun, and there is light. Then God said, let there be light, and there was light. Genesis 1:3.
Thank
You
you.
don't know that description of sunlight or daybreak happens outside Binghamton.
Oh,
It doesn't happen in Binghamton, but it happens outside
look,
Binghamton.
well,
Look at it, right?
Yeah, that's the afternoon daybreak.
I know, look at it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Lots of sun coming through right now.
I know, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
Rose, you have special music?
Okay, so on your papers is a song that I wrote based on the writings of Emmet Fox, who is our topic today, which I found out a couple days ago. So I did some research on, he's an author, so he has a lot of writings on the internet, even though he lived a long time ago. So I just took some kind of quotes or pieces from his writing and put them together. So they're from different parts of his, So it was, it was a kind of a fun project. Okay. The art of life is to live in the present moment and to make that moment as perfect as we can. By the realization that we are the instruments and expression of God, Spirit divine. Refuse to tolerate anything less than harmony. It only takes a small spark to start a great fire. Every day do something to help someone else. You are always in the right place at the moment. Claim your divine, glorious selfhood. Think it, talk it, live it, and it will demonstrate itself in your life. The moment you catch yourself thinking a negative thought, immediately switch your focus to the presence of God. God is the giver of life. God is bigger than any problem. God in you is greater than any struggles that may come. I send out thoughts of love and peace and healing to the universe, to all trees and plants and to all growing things, to all beasts and birds and fishes, and every man and woman, to every child on earth without distinction. Divine love is the only real power. Express it in every word you speak, in every business transaction, in every social activity, every phase of your life. Think it, talk it, live it.
Well, there's a very profound introduction to what we're going to do today. We didn't have a speaker lined up. Thought it might be a great idea to have one of the greater Unity speakers speak to us. That would be Emmet Fox. If you don't know, he was a physician, Unity teacher, probably in the mid-40s, around the time of World War II or so. Had a great ministry in New York City. And he's written a lot of great books, including Sermon on the Mount and the Ten Commandments and claim. This book here, as when I picked, was Make Your Life Worthwhile. It's just a collection of his short little snippets of some of the truths he taught. So rather than focus on one particular truth, I thought today, let's leave it up to the universe to decide what we're going to read and talk about. But I limited it. I wrote down page numbers for people to pick a number out of the grab bag
Oh,
and come up and read.
I like that.
Who would like to read first? Peggy will read first.
Peggy.
You have a microphone if you think you need it, or if somebody
Yeah.
suggests you use it. What page do you have, Peggy?
Page 172, Contacting God.
Yeah. Well, then, you want the microphone?
Yes, I think she should have a microphone.
Okay, Contacting God. Truth students are constantly told to contact God, to realize His presence, to find God within themselves, to lean upon the Christ within, and so forth. Many people, however, are somewhat vague about the meaning of these phrases, and so it will be useful to consider exactly what they mean. When we cannot see God with our physical eyes, nor touch Him with our hands, obviously we can only contact Him in thought, but we do contact God whenever we think of Him. This is the meaning of the phrase, to find God within. In the Bible, the word within means thought, and without or outside means the material world. If we think quietly about God by rehearsing the various things that we know about Him, we shall presently find that these truths are becoming more real to us, that they are no longer mere theories. This is realization, and realization is a matter of degree. These truths are felt more strongly at times than at other times. And when we feel them more strongly, we have a better realization, and it has more power to heal. The most important truth of all is that God is always with us, even though we are unaware of that fact, or forget it for the time being. To remind ourselves of His presence and to realize the fact to some extent is to find God within oneself. The presence of God with us or in us is sometimes called the indwelling Christ or the Christ within. And to believe in our unity with it and to have confidence in its saving, healing, and inspiring power is to lean upon it. To have faith that it will solve a particular problem is to cast the burden within the Christ within. They shall call His name Emmanuel, which being interpreted is God with us.
Thank you. Who's next?
Well, what about discussion? Are we going to have discussion after each reading, or because how are we going to remember?
Because of time factors, I
Yeah.
thought.
I would like to
Yeah.
see, I would like to, there's time is not real, yeah.
Okay. You want discussion?
Yeah, after
Okay.
each reading would
Talk
be
amongst
nice.
yourself.
I mean, one of the things that came up for me was when he says you can't see God or touch God, you have to go within, and I just had a response come up for me, which would be that the other way to look at it is everything is God. So if I'm looking at anyone or anything, or the trees out there, all the people, I can see God, and then I can touch it, right? I can use the senses, I can touch God right here. And so I'm, besides going within, so I think maybe if you go within first, find God within, then you can see God everywhere.
That's in line with metaphysics, and the thought comes first.
Right.
Material manifestation world is just a outreaching or extension of thought.
Hmm.
That's
I just want to piggyback on what Vera was saying. I've studied Unity. I've been with Unity for about 35 years. Up in Zurich. And I have this. I don't know why I even had to tell you. I don't know what you did. But for me lately is that divine presence. That phrase, that divine presence.
Hmm.
And there are times where it's a palpable feeling around me. you know, that it's the beauty, it's all of that, but beyond that, it's the sensation that there's this palpable presence surrounding and flowing in and through. So I just wanted to share that because it's taken me a long time to get there, but it's wonderful. But it piggybacks on what you're saying.
Thank you, yeah. So do you feel it right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's nice.
Is it more about feeling than thinking then? Because you can think something and, you know, like affirmations, but if you don't actually feel them, it's like it's just a rote. You're saying something that's sort of meaningless in a way. You know, it's hard because you do have to feel it, like maybe from
Well,
your
it's your
heart.
heart.
From your
Yeah.
heart, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I used to think that the heart is the portal through which
Mm-hmm.
the divine expresses. And then on YouTube I saw this friendly debate between Ram Dass, who is all heart, and Timothy Leary, who's all head.
Yeah.
And so it was yin versus yang, and going back and forth, and Timothy or Ram Dass was clearly winning, because every time Timothy Leary said something with his incisiveness, Ram Dass would just like envelop it in a loving embrace, and it would just flip, you know, and you could see it was limited and relative. But then toward the end, Timothy Leary, he said one thing, and it just like Luke Skywalker dropping the bomb like a putt into the Death Star. It just went down, and that showed me that God is everywhere, even in the yang,
In the young.
as well as the yin.
Oh, cool.
Right.
Because he just opened it up with that one insight that he expressed with his yang energy.
That's great.
Well, you know,
there's-
Greg-
Timothy
sorry.
Leary and Ramadan, and you never did drugs.
Well, you know, Greg reading the
I-
sign.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, my thoughts on this are, it brings Einstein's, where I think it was Einstein who said you can't solve a problem from the same where the problem started. I'm not saying this is a problem, but I'm saying when Emmet said you can't see God, and
Or
you're
touch
saying
God,
you
yeah.
can see God, that God is everything. God is. So, and we also know that everything is God. So in order to see the light, you have to have the dark. Or the light, you have to have the dark. So it's weird. We know that God is in all the things that we see out there, and we're God ourselves. So are we? It's like we're not seeing God. We're seeing what God is. What is God? You know. So I'm just trying to say that, like, we're talking from a physical thought of seeing something, and God speaks from divine, and we're all a part of this. So we're not really seeing, or from my point of view, I'm not really seeing God. I'm seeing God creation. I can't see God because I am God or something. I don't know.
It reminds me
Your
of the
experience.
verse, judge not,
Yes.
lest ye be judged, or, yeah,
That's what I was thinking.
yeah.
I was thinking
Or
along
I
the
think
lines,
that, you know, we think of God as a being, but God is not a being, he's being itself, so he's all that is,
Right.
you know.
along the lines of what they were saying about there has to be lightness and darkness and the oppositional creation. That's what creates our experience. Without the oppositional creation, we could not experience God. We need things that we see different from God so that we could experience God in things. You know, we have to see others so that we could experience the God within ourselves. And the oppositional creation creates the experience.
Yeah, yeah.
so you don't cast the first stone.
Some people aren't enlightened enough to realize that they're seeing God.
Yeah,
So
well,
they think they're
yeah.
not. But like the people in this room are more enlightened, so they realize mostly.
I catch myself all the time.
Tell you a
Say,
dirty
get
joke
over
after
it.
the service.
But is that why we seek other people that we think are more evolved than we are, like swamis and priests and so on? And because we're supposed to be looking within, because we have the same capabilities, but we seem to revere other people, and then sometimes they're really not that evolved. I mean, you know, as history proves. But yeah, but that's what we've been taught, you know. So we never think that we ourselves are aspiring to be godlike.
Ready for another reading?
Yeah.
Who wants it?
I do it.
You do it?
I keep thinking there's popcorn in there.
Are you getting hungry?
That would be
Well,
nice.
yes.
It sounds like it, yeah.
Hungry. I think I've got two here. Yeah.
Greedy. Which one? What page?
Page 228.
What's
What
it about?
metaphysics is not.
Oh, interesting.
No, that's all right. I just get confused. So it's a good possibility that each reading that we have is going to lead into the next. You want to bet on it?
They all hold together.
Yeah.
You want the microphone?
I don't think I need it.
Yeah, you're the only one that's deaf here.
What? What did you say?
You're the only one that can't hear.
You're the only one that can't hear.
Not true.
Metaphysics is not Pollyanna. It does not say that everything will be all right. Things will not be all right unless you make them so by right thinking. Definitely, you can bring any amount of trouble on yourself by wrong thinking and neglect of God. It is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It teaches that if you have faith in God, He will supply your needs bountifully. But metaphysics will not bring money for its own sake. It does not teach that you have only to order what you want by thinking it, and that God must obey your orders. This absurd idea usually ends in disaster. The truth is that you can demonstrate only what you really have the consciousness for, and what you have the consciousness for must demonstrate. It is not mind over matter. It teaches that what we see around us is but our own thoughts and beliefs objectified. Thus, we do not try to dominate something outside of our minds, but to change our minds. It does not pretend that your trouble is imaginary. It admits that it is there as an experience, but it says that that experience can be dissolved by realizing the presence of God. It is not faith healing in the ordinary sense of fighting a supposedly real evil with blind faith and willpower. It teaches an intelligent and understanding faith based on the goodness and all presence of God. It is not pantheism. Pantheism, as generally understood, gives the outer world a separate and substantial existence and says that it is part of God, including all the evil and cruelty to be found in it. The truth is that God is the only presence and the only power, that He is entirely good, that evil is a false belief about the truth, and that the outer world is the outpicturing of our own minds.
I'm glad you picked that one.
In other words, we
Like I
create
said,
our
I
own
selected some, and I'm
reality.
glad that one was
Thank
selected.
you to Jane Roberts for that quote. That was very metaphysical.
But you know, something confuses me, how he refers in both of those readings to God as He.
Yeah, oh, well.
It bothered me too,
Yeah.
But
but,
that was
Yeah.
the way they did it all the time. That's what Ernest Holmes does in
Yeah.
religious science.
When I
Yeah.
prepared the message I gave a few weeks ago, in one of the books it detailed, that Life in the Spirit book that I brought in, it detailed why it's in a masculine sense.
Well, I don't
It made
mean-
sense to me when I read it, but I cannot explain what it said. But it's not necessarily, they use the masculine primarily because it cannot be non-gendered.
No, no.
yeah.
I'm not referring to gender as much as I'm referring to separation.
Oh, okay, I see what
The
you're saying.
energy, you mean?
As if God is still up there on that cloud floating around, you know?
Okay.
Fillmore's writings are like that too in some regards. So I think I think the unity movement has evolved more to capture where we're all at now. You know what I mean? I think they were there, but they just didn't catch themselves in the way they were saying things necessarily.
Well, it's
I
like
also-
yin and
You
yang.
said you have to catch
Yin and
yourself in-
yang. It's sort of a balance, really. And so do you say yin or do you say yang? But it's all part of the whole, I guess.
Yeah, I also see it perhaps as we are all God, but we're not all of God. By applying the indefinite pronoun or the pronoun to that source, it sort of distinguishes that it's from us individual. We're all an individual expression of God, and we are all God, but we're not all of God. So by using a pronoun there, it sort of distinguishes the fact that we're not the only God there is.
Infinite being.
Yeah, there is
More, yeah.
the divine mind, whatever
Oh, well.
attribute you want to apply to it, the source.
So if people don't sort of think the way that we do about, consciousness and God, are they still gods in the making? They still are too, even though they aren't aware of that,
They
right?
don't realize it, but they are.
They're not demonstrating, that's all.
So how would you use one of those words in the sentences that we just heard? If you picked one of those sentences, how would you say it? Like divine presence or the presence or the source?
Or the creator, the source, or the source
How would
of all
you-
that is?
Can you
How
pick a
would you
sentence
say
from there that you can
Infinite being.
remember?
Can you read that first?
How would we change it if we wanted
it? I
to?
was thinking the same thing.
Myself, I don't think it can be changed. I mean, because we're using words, we're speaking with a voice. How do you put something into a word, a word, which is a real, which is a thing, without that being separate from everything? So that I catch myself saying he, and I'm upset with that I do say that, but I'm not sure how else to say it. To me, God is energy or spirit, When I say God, I think that I'm making it something separate, but I can't think of any way you could do it.
I'll
Yeah.
try.
He's gonna try.
I'm
Let's
gonna
see.
try.
How would you
This
change it?
paragraph it's not
All
a get
it
rich
is,
quick
you would
scheme
say
to
all
teach
it
you
is.
that if you have faith in God, He will supply your needs bountifully. But metaphysics will not bring money for its own sake. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It teaches you to have faith in the universe. The universe will supply your needs bountifully, but metaphysics will not bring money for its own sake.
Yeah, so you could replace it with a
You know,
universe.
in that particular case, the universe works.
Did you
In other cases, you could say divine presence. Other,
Yeah.
you could always, there's more than one name for God, that's obvious.
Getting away from
Yeah.
that key would solve a lot of
Yeah,
problems.
Use
right.
whatever name for God that you choose.
Jerry,
I kinda
did
like-
you read the sentence she's referencing that says he?
Yeah, he
Okay.
just
Did
read
read
it.
this the way it's
Okay.
written, so we can hear it again, please?
Okay, where's he?
Yeah, pick one.
It was at the beginning.
He just read one.
First,
Yeah.
It had he in it.
Well,
Yeah.
I couldn't hear it.
Oh, you can hear it?
Oh,
Do you have microphone? Where's
No,
microphone?
it's not the microphone, it was on.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
It's hard to understand, Jerry.
Was it at the beginning?
Now a lot of books that are coming out now, they're using the word isness.
Oh, that's
So the
interesting.
isness is here.
I'm gonna go
The
back to that book
isness
and
Well,
next
is
week I'll
creating.
try to
Yeah.
explain why they use male.
for me, Holy Spirit
Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
brings it all.
As
Right,
Me
but
and
there's so
the
many names for
being,
God
yeah.
that you could apply any name that seems.
Now, Holy
more
Spirit
appropriate.
is also more Christian based, so that has a little limitation too, or division.
Higher power.
Higher power, yeah.
Source.
Source, that's kind of
I have
neutral.
I like
I have a
source.
book that says,
Something's neutral.
it starts out with, I think, Mother Mary is God or God is Mother Mary. And it talks about you have to be able to create, and creation is given through the female energy. And so that perhaps, the secret of God is that it is more female in the beginning because it creates itself to create all of this. And that creation is a female. And from male energy, then entirely different energy again. But this book is very interesting, gives a really good argument.
I also want to point out that
Maybe in this
there is
reality.
nothing wrong with
it knows
Christianity
about
at
other
Unity.
planes of existence.
It is a Christian faith.
I understand that, but when you say
But
Holy
I love-
Spirit,
I love all these books
connotes
because
Christianity.
I take snippets from everything. I don't think any one person has the whole clip on anything.
Right.
I think they're all, divine, and they all hold something. But do I take everything that's said verbatim? No, I don't. But I choose, and I take things from each thing. And I find so much goodness in all religions, in all books. And that's how I piece who I am, is that I don't take and hold on to one set of a person or any entity. They're all really divine in their own way.
Is there anything special about Emmet Fox from your study, Jerry, that makes him stand apart from others?
For me, Emmet Fox nails down the concept of metaphysics in the sense that it all begins with thinking and thought, and that it's a practical way of applying Christian teaching. He's able to take the teachings of Jesus and apply it in a practical way of metaphysics that to me is like mind-blowing and life-transforming. And
Well,
he's not the only author that does that, but it's the whole principle of metaphysics and affirmative prayer that I found in Unity that has transformed my life. And I was first introduced to Emmet Fox outside of Unity. It was
Really?
in my
Wow.
12-step program that I first met Emmet Fox.
Well, just with my near-death experience, this is what I experienced. I was in the realm of God. It was shown to me that God first had to have a feeling, because God was an isness and was in its own way very much alone. And it took its atomic energy, which all previous religions, ancient religions, revered nature first because they thought of God as Ra, as the sun. So God had shown me this atomic energy, and it had to feel its aloneness. It didn't want that anymore. And so what it did is it broke itself apart by creating this churning energy, like a nuclear energy. And then it was like shards of love going out like this, like a planet bouncing off. Here's another one of me, here's another one of me. And, creating all this. So there was no void, there never was a void, but this creation decided it felt this aloneness and wanted to create itself. And that's how I was shown with God. And then it had shown me also, which I didn't understand it as an 11-year-old having my near-death experience, now I do, that these people were eventually going back into God, the Godhead, I call it. And I'm thinking, what are these people doing churning into God, like almost absorbed by God, right? And that's because you do come to a certain point where you want to be all that is again. And it's a very interesting concept, what was shown to me, but that it felt first, and then it intellectually, it had.
If you go back to the creation story in the Garden of Eden, it's eaten from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, except creating the oppositional creation so that you can have experience. And then it is deceived by experience, which is the serpent in the garden. The experience is the deceptive part of separation. But, as man was created as that desire to have experience, it was still in the all-knowing state. But when it ate from the oppositional creation, then it became deceived into being that it was separate.
But it's interesting to me that God actually separated itself. And knowing that it's whole already, in order to feel
Yeah.
itself, it had to explode almost like a sun, like a nuclear energy. And then watch all its creations, and all is good. It's all
Last
good.
week when Edmund was here, he talked about the knowing, or the experience creates the knowing. And, so that's how the divine Godhead had to come to knowing of itself, is through the experience.
I have a question on that. When he says, does he say something like, God is not Pollyanna?
Yeah.
Reread that.
Yeah.
I got hung up on that.
The word, yeah.
228 it was.
Like
right?
granting our
Life-
wishes.
Life lessons.
Because I think God gets interpreted sometimes as
Uh,
the Santa Claus or the Pollyanna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think
When I read that, I was thinking about
it's there.
Yeah.
the people that pronounce what they call the secret.
Yeah, the
See,
secret.
I'm
Yeah,
opening
that's anything.
Yeah. This whole thing talks about metaphysics is not the secret.
Right.
But metaphysics is not Pollyanna. It does not say that everything will be all right. Things will not be all right unless you make them so by right thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the contemporary example for me is when Marianne Williamson announces her candidacy that I am the love candidate. And I keep thinking, oh, this is so Pollyannish, but she insists it's not, and I think she has a connection to what he's saying. But I'm just not sure how you show that it's not Pollyannish.
Well,
Yeah.
Marianne Williamson is a unity teacher.
Right.
She comes from a unity background.
She's unity.
Right. And I think of all the candidates, she is the most, she goes down to the roots of the cause of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's very practical and grounded.
But if she ever gets in Washington, they'll eat her alive. And
Well, that's
spit her
can
out.
love really operate in the political sphere.
Yeah.
Well,
Look what they
like
did to
her
Jimmy
don't-
Carter.
yeah.
He was only.
People
Oh,
like
yeah.
her don't normally, or people like us, go into politics.
Right.
She wants to bring a spiritual democracy.
So
and
it's
I
like
agree
this
with her,
bold
but
move, but
It is bold, yeah.
what, could it really work? I don't know.
It would be
Sure, it
nice.
can
It's
work.
already
Her purpose-
It would be nice.
Sure, it can
To
work.
go
Raising
from the
awareness.
stream.
The way I see it is her purpose is planting seeds.
Yeah,
That's
right.
Yes.
Marianne Williamson's not going
So
to
many
succeed,
people
but
do, yeah.
she is planting a seed of the,
So maybe it's
Yeah.
a beginning.
so maybe,
Yeah.
it's-
yeah.
I
It's
mean,
like,
once all institutions fail, that seed's gonna grow, because there's gonna be a whole pile of bullshit piled on top of it.
That's a good way to look at it,
Yeah,
take the
it
long
keeps glass
view.
like around
that's
the-
it's the dark before the light.
Somebody has to bring the voice,
Comes
and she's bringing
yeah.
voice.
Yeah.
The dark before the light.
And,
Yeah,
and even
we're in the
if
dark now.
and even if they eat her up and she makes it to the White
Yeah.
House and they eat her up, she'll come out even more powerful because she believes in the power and the glory
Yeah.
and really believes it compared to anyone else who's preaching or teaching of the candidates. So that can show the power. Her
Yes, but how
candidacy.
many of them understand that our beliefs create our reality? Because they keep coming up with more and more laws that based on their beliefs taking away our rights because they think, the ends justify the means. And it's really gotten out of control, especially here in New York State. So any candidate, if they don't understand that, we are not going to go to the next level of consciousness that the human race needs until we fully understand that and we live
Well-
from that precept,
But
to allow other people their beliefs.
I just think we're all so connected that if you're only one person and there's a billion against you, there's still billions who will be for you.
Yeah,
See how welcoming you all are. And I think
Yeah.
Lion into donkey.
Okay, this is one of those that, another reason I like Emmet Fox. He has a great sense of humor.
Oh, good.
That's good.
Good regard.
Yeah, I think a little bit on the next page.
Oh, yeah.
Got the mic?
Yeah. Probably, maybe I don't.
Go ahead. I'll hold it.
Lion into donkey. The one great enemy of the human race is fear. The less fear you have, the more health and harmony you will have. The more fear you have, the more trouble of one kind or another will come into your life. The only real problem of mankind is to get rid of fear. When you really do not fear a situation, it cannot hurt you. Of course, you must remember that fear often exists in the subconscious mind without your necessarily being aware of it. The best evidence that you have gotten rid of fear concerning a particular subject is a sense of joy and happiness about it. The great thing to remember is that fear is a bluffer.
It's over.
Is a bluffer. Call its bluff and it collapses. An amusing incident happened in Holland a number of years ago. A lion escaped from a traveling circus, not for the demoralizing power of fear. Our good housewife completely dominated the lion as long as she thought it was a donkey, and as long as she treated him as a donkey. As long as she treated him as a donkey, the lion thought she was very powerful and was the abject fear of her. When she discovered her mistake, the old race belief of fear came back, and although she was now perfectly safe, she still reacted in accordance with the race tradition. Get rid of fear. Concentrate your fire on that, and other things will take care of themselves. The treatment against fear is to realize, make real to yourself, the presence of God with you and his unchanging love. He that feareth is not made perfect in love.
Thank you.
That's good. That's from 1 John. Yeah.
Wow.
Feel the
That's a
fear,
really
do it
understandable
anyway.
one.
Can I read one more? Just one more?
Yeah.
All right, if it makes you
Who cares
happy.
about time?
Yeah.
Your
One
favorite
more
one.
of Emmet Fox's little
You pick
humor.
one.
But I forgot which page it was.
Which one you doing?
I'm gonna do the one, don't kill flies with the steam hammer.
Interesting.
Oh.
Okay.
But you asked why I like Emmet Fox, because he also has a sense of humor. And you know me. And seeing that I have a sense of humor, I'm gonna read this. In the morning, I have a daily meditation with Emmet Fox. And in the morning, I'll call Donna and I'll read the daily meditations to her. When I read the one from Emmet Fox, I channel his voice. I don't know what he ever sounded like.
But do it for us anyway.
I'm going to try to do the same here.
Right.
Don't use a steam hammer to kill flies. Don't kill flies with a steam hammer. That way is cumbersome and expensive. A quite powerful hammer costs a lot of money and takes up a great deal of room. In fact, erecting it and operating it will occupy most of your time. Then you will have to catch each fly separately and stick it in place while the huge hammer does its work. By far, the best way to kill flies is to buy a fly swatter and at 5 and 10 and hit the fly once when it appears. This is simple and it only takes a moment out of your life. Of course, all this is just a way of saying that many people have an unfortunate talent for doing things the hard way when there is an easy, quiet way, or quite handy. Oh, I'm going to try that again. They have spent half the day running around to accomplish something that another person would do quietly in half an hour or less by acting intelligently. They write and rewrite a long letter half a dozen times when 50 words on a postcard or 5 minutes on the telephone would have settled the matter easily. They must always go from New York to Jersey via Europe, India, and China. In the words of the Chinese fable, they burn down the house to get a piece of roast pork. You should accustom yourself to doing things as simply, directly, and with little fuss as possible, particularly in your spiritual life. When you pray, come to the point. Don't hover over the problem, but swoop at it. Know the truth without preliminaries or beating about the bush. In other words, do not use a steam hammer to kill flies.
Good point.
Thank you.
All right.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
But like I said, he has a sense of humor.
Okay.
Thank you for the humor.
Well, we still have more. If our speakers ever cancel, or if we have a conflict of interest in speakers.
Right.
I hope you enjoy that.
Thank you. That was good.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice because it was interactive also.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's time for our love offering.
Let me bring love where there is doubt. Let me bring faith where there is falsehood. Let me bring truth where there is pain. I'll comfort you. Where there is silence, let me sing praise. Where there's despair, let me bring hope. Where there is blindness, let me bring sight. Where there is darkness, let me bring light. And with these words I speak, grant that I may not seem to be heard, but to hear, to be the soul, but to console, not to be seen, but to see, to be we will receive when we forgive. We'll find we're free. We'll be make me an instrument of peace.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, isn't
Beautiful.
that beautiful?
Yeah.
Time to close if you'd like to join us.